YouTube is hard and scripting videos is too. So this is going to be off the dome, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to talk about why I think that the most recent Pharah rework shows off something really positive that Blizzard has been doing, and that's the reworks. With the mild exception of Roadhog, basically every single rework has been good from Overwatch 2. Doomfist and Orisa both got reworks heading into Overwatch 2 pretty significantly, as well as Reinhardt getting a smaller one. But since the release of Overwatch 2, we've gotten 3 more. Sombra, who obviously was a really good rework, all things considered, made her a lot more fun to play as, maybe less fun to play against, but I think it was better than at least Overwatch 1 Sombra. Then Roadhog, who was kind of middling in terms of how fun he is and how good of a rework it was, all things considered. I'd say it was pretty bad. But the big one, the one that I want to focus on today, Pharah. Pharah got a pretty simple rework, all things considered. She could no longer gain fuel in the air, a couple of small number changes. In particular, her E had a smaller cooldown and dealt damage AoE, and a new secondary fire / right click, which gave her a burst of aerial speed. Her shift would also give her a little bit of fuel when used, but all in all, it was a fairly tame rework. One ability that was new, a couple of numerical changes, no longer able to gain fuel midair. It's a small rework, but dear God, is it fun. The old Pharah playstyle was basically just sit in the skybox and spam at NB players from as far away as humanly possible. That way then your giant hitbox isn't as much of a big deal. This obviously necessitated a support who could care for her up there, and so Pharah Mercy was the prime combo. Kiriko and Lifeweaver can also fulfill this purpose, but struggle a little bit, so Pharah Mercy was really the only way to carry on that playstyle super significantly. And now, after some retooling, I think that Pharah is a much more engaging, fun character to play. First things first, I want to start with her primary fire. It's something that has not been changed about Pharah, except for the universal projectile size increase, but I want to be thorough. Basically, you have 6 shots to use, and each one will deal 120 damage on direct, or 80 damage maximum for splash. Given the most recent health buff that all characters got, it's more important than ever that you be landing these directs compared to splash. It's also way more important to do damage with splash than to do no damage at all. Missing just one shot can mean that a 2v1 or even 1v1 turns massively into the opponent's favor, especially paired with her mild fire rate. So even though the projectile size was increased, I do think that she's still relatively skillful to play. 6 shots. Ammo management is big with Pharah. It's something that a lot of characters have lost out on. In particular, Ana, Soldier, Sojourn, and Junker Queen have really lost a bit of that ammo management that made them so rewarding to play, but Pharah has kept it in tow. Next is her jump jet. Upon activation, it gives you 50% of your maximum fuel. Now this can go overboard and give you extra fuel on top of the maximum bar. I find that it's best to use some of that fuel and then use your shift to stay in the air for an off angle as long as possible. But I'm sure there's a use for that extra fuel. Generally, it does seem to fade over time. It takes a few seconds, but once it starts to fade, it's going to drop. This ability is mostly used for just that vertical mobility, although it can be used a little bit for horizontal, but it does generally put you in a bad position when trying to use it that way. I want to skip over Concussion Blast and go straight into her new ability, Jet Dash. And let me just say, for a very simple ability, good lord, does it make it so much more fun to play the character. Having that horizontal mobility, even if it's on its 8-second cooldown, on top of what Concussive Blast can do, which I'll add to later, makes it so much fun. Just being able to dodge past someone, dodge through someone, because this does allow ghosting, which basically just means that you can go through enemy and ally players without any hitbox shenanigans forcing you to be body blocked. It allows you to do a lot of fancy things with your movement, and it feels so fun to do. The flicks that you get after a jet dash in a close range duel make you feel like a badass. It makes you feel like this aerial enforcer that Pharah is in lore. It's so fun to use. However, the real meat and potatoes in her kit currently comes in Concussive Blast. Concussive Blast deals 30 explosive damage. Used to deal a direct hit of damage. I don't think it does anymore, but basically what it does is it is a knockback with a slight bit of damage added onto it. Now, how much damage? 30. And if you've done the math, you know that Pharah's primary fire does 120 damage per shot. So 120 times 2 plus 30 is 250. 2 directs plus a concussive blast will kill any 250 HP target, which in current day and age is a lot of them. With the exception of Brig, who does need a melee to finish off the kill, or just a little bit more chip damage thanks to that armor, but let's stick with basically every character gets 3 shot with 2 primary fires into a concussive blast. Not only that, but it's also a disposition tool. It's also a repositioning tool for yourself and for enemies. Using this knockback allows you to move in a certain direction, but it's reliant on the environment around you. It's like a weaker version of Jet Dash in that way, but it's much more flexible on a 7-second cooldown. Additionally, it can do damage to anybody near you as well. This is old reliable. This is what Pharah's main cooldown in the past has been, with the exception of obviously Jump Jet, which allowed her to keep her playstyle. Concussive Blast allowed flexibility in that playstyle, and to this day, it has maintained that identity. It is flexible. You can use it for the 30 damage to confirm 2 shots on enemies. You can use it for that knockback to clear off a high ground that the enemy team is abusing. You can use it for yourself to give yourself 2 dashes. It is the epitome of a well-designed everything cooldown. But an everything cooldown is more of a personal description type deal rather than an actual balanced discussion. Finally, Rocket Barrage is entirely unchanged, and this is where they really missed the mark with this rework, in my opinion. The only negative is that Rocket Barrage was not affected. It's got crazy high DPS at 1200. It's got a massive chunk of damage. It can instantly delete enemies, especially when combined with a primary fire. Jet Dash and Concussive Blast can both make you move really quick into a good position to barrage, but it's just not a very good ultimate. I do wish that they had found a way to give her a new ultimate rather than making her keep barrage, but all things considered, I do think Rocket Barrage is fine. It lets her go for trades, it lets her go for aggressive plays. It's never been anything spectacular, but I'm fine keeping it in the rework. Overall, I think that we need to give more credit to Activision Blizzard, as crazy as that sounds for how much I hate this patch and all the negativity I have, which I don't want to get into. We have to give Activision Blizzard the credit where they deserve. Pharah's rework, as well as several others that I didn't go over today, are fantastic in terms of game design. I think that it makes the character much more fun, maybe less balanced because she's kind of dog shit. Early in Overwatch 2, she was definitely the worst character in the game. Now she's probably still bottom 5, down there with Roadhog, Doomfist, the like. But all in all, I've been one-tricking her a lot in comp lately, and I have to say that it has been some of the most fun I've ever had playing this game. If you haven't tried out Overwatch 2 Pharah yet, I highly suggest you do so. It is really fun, if nothing else.